Hey guys, I would love to offer you an opportunity to make some connections today. So, one of the reasons I teach about the witch burning times is because I think it's really important to see parallels from the history of that time to what's going on today. In addition to that, we have some astrology showing up with Uranus and Neptune that reflect the same astrology that occurred during the Salem witch trials showing up this year. But I'll talk about that in a separate video. Anyways, what I want you to understand is this. During the time of the witch burning era in Europe, that was a genocide, okay? Tens of thousands of people were murdered during that time. What I want you to understand is this. After the bubonic plague, after the Black Death swept Europe, feudal societies were in uproar, and peasants were realizing that their living conditions were atrocious. There was less, um, there were less bodies available to labor, and people were realizing how much labor was being extracted from them and given to these monarchical and upper class nobility portions of their culture. And this is after they had been stripped from their egalitarian communities, for several generations. But anyways, the bubonic plague had wiped out so many people that they couldn't keep up with the labor needed in order to fulfill the monarchical need for their economy. It just sounds gross. So, what happened was they went after women who were able to make an autonomous living. And typically, those were poor women who were nurses and midwives, and also medicinal workers who had ancient plant knowledge that was tied to their culture, traditions, and regional land. So, if you think about where your ancestors were from, if they were from Europe, this would have been for me, my Scandinavian relatives, my relatives from Poland, Czechoslovakian area, you name it. During this era, their knowledge of plants, their medicinal knowledge, their ability to care for their community that was did not have access to care, that was being pulled from them during that time. Now, here's what's interesting. The monarchy knew of the uprising that was to come. And so they went after women and started to demonize them as amoral when they were making a living. You know how we all wear witch hats during Halloween? The black pointy ones with the brim? Those are actually miller's hats, or brewer's hats, I should say. And if you don't know this, women actually brewed beer. They made fermented beverages during medieval era, and they would wear pointy black hats in the market so that they could be seen. It was taller than everything else, so it was easy to spot them because beer was so important. But again, it was something that people couldn't capitalize off of because it was something that allowed women to be financially independent. Now, in order to control the population and prevent an uprising, they targeted women who were able to maintain an autonomous living without participating in feudalist society to the degree that other people did, because then they instilled a pro-natalist agenda. So not only did they strip women from allowing themselves to have independent income outside of a monarchical environment, outside of a feudalist economy, but they also then demonized those women, so that if you were doing something where you were earning a living and you were not birthing children to resupply their labor chain, you were seen as immoral. And that was an additional kind of mark that you had. And so, really, the European witch trials was basically a psyops that occurred to force women into birthing and resupply the labor chain after a plague had wiped out an impoverished population. rather than actually redistributing the wealth, they instead made quite a fuss and caused G-side and pushed women into birthing again and pushed women into a more submissive role, and more amoral type of a submissive role. So I want you to think about all those laws that are coming up here. In particular, we're seeing the Fugitive Slave Act being kind of rekindled. We're seeing the potential for life sentences for any migrant workers that are caught in that state if they're undocumented, which is interesting because if you're a bounty hunter and they're caught in the state, more than likely these bounty hunters are going to be trafficking people into Mississippi as a result of this, if you think about it. My perspective is this: I don't think they're planning on deporting people. Last year already, GEO, which is a huge private prison sector industry, was actually celebrating their upcoming collaboration with the incoming administration and the potential to make tons of money off of preparing these like kind of labor camps or work camps. They're going to call them detention centers. But the thing is, in the event that federal detainment is overwhelmed, that is then transferred to a state for, responsibility for those detainees. And the way the laws changed during the last administration, now instead of being your case being processed fully as an immigrant, you're actually processed criminally. And so remember when everyone was going, oh, the families, they can be reunited again. Well, the contingency of that was that's because instead of processing people through immigration systems, they're now processing them through the criminal justice system as criminals. And so what's going to happen, I believe, because a lot of the astrology is tied to the end of the Civil War, and kind of the shifting from abolition to Jim Crow era, I believe that we're going to see these people put into labor camps. I don't think they're going to be deported. And with regards to the bills that are coming out in Indiana and in the Carolinas, looking at women and this pronatalist movement that's occurring in these economic conditions, more than likely we'll see another situation like that where women who are resistant to falling in line with these tired beliefs are going to say something and stand up. And so please don't give up hope. Again, I had visions that something was going to happen. We were going to see some sort of like international intervention with like NATO or something. I saw this back in like October and November, and I saw borders shifting, both north and south borders shifting, but I couldn't tell what was coming of it. And so I don't know. We'll see. Maybe that's just me hoping. But I just want you guys to, make sure that you're making plans with your families and your friends. I'm sticking around. I'm here. I am in it. I've come this far with my life, and I love my community. I love the people in my life. I love my family. I love my home. I plan, to stay and participate and, stand for the people that I love, the people that I love. So I hope you do too. And just make sure you're staying in communication with those people, and that you keep yourself grounded with things that bring you pleasure also, because finding balance with this overwhelm, it's intentionally overwhelming. And we need to remember that this could be something we go through for a while. So we need to make sure that we are consistent with taking care of ourselves too. All right, you guys. Love you all, and thanks for tuning in. I'll post more videos on a lot of different topics in the coming days.